Hoo-ha.
Live from the Vanguard Hates You Pavilion. It's an all-new, terrific Tuesday edition of Business Pants, joined by analyst old Matt Moscardi. Woo!
That seems like not a great way to spend your marketing capital, calling it the Vanguard Hates You Pavilion.
I don't write this stuff. In today's BLT with spicy carbon disclosure called September 10th, 2024, a super nerdy ESG good game.
Ooh. That's fun. We haven't done one of these in a while.
Yeah, this is an old-fashioned good game. I'm really picking the most ESG-specific topics, like boardroom battles and things like that.
I like a good boardroom battle. You know I do. Does anybody else like that, though? Is there anybody else who's going to be listening?
Look, the only reason why I keep doing this every day is I'm hoping that there are analysts out there who listen and steal what we say and then make their jobs better and maybe get a little bit of a raise. I don't know, because we come up with lots of good ideas.
I love your hopes and dreams. I love your hopes and dreams.
Our show today is being sponsored by FreeFlow Analytics, the only platform measuring board power, connections, and performance for free. Really, it's the only one.
I like that.
It's the only one measuring board power, connections, and performance, first of all. And it's free.
I mean, it also happens to be largely free. FreeFlowAnalytics.com. You just sign. You just need an email address. You just sign in.
I have like 17 email addresses. So
I know. It's like I'm sure you forgot one account. You just use your Yahoo.AOL.
I do have a Yahoo.
MSN account.
All right. Here's how the good game works. I pick headlines that feel good, I guess. And Matt, the arbiter of truth, steps in and tells me if they're actually good on a scale from 1 to 10. 0 to 10?
0 to 10. We've been doing this for literally 6 years, and you don't know the scale still.
Well, there's a new squirrel in my yard, so I'm explaining it to her. Here we go. Again, these are very nerdy, which is good. And you know what? There's no Kimball Musk today. Nothing. So none of those crazy stories, just ESG stories.
All right. There we go.
Oh, wait, really?
That's not good music. No. I don't like that music.
Here we go. Southwest. Oh, this is a good one. Southwest Airline shakes up board, but does not fire the CEO under pressure from Paul Singer's activist hedge fund. I'm going to give you a little bit of details here. You tell me if this is good or bad.
Okay.
So the chair, Gary Kelly, who's the former Southwest CEO. So the Southwest board has 2 Southwest CEOs on it.
Yeah. I think they actually have 3.
He's going to step down next year. But the CEO is going to stay. So, and also Southwest agreed that they're going to add 6 new directors in November. No, they're going to get rid of 6 directors and appoint 4 new ones. Some of whom could be coming from Elliott, right? Elliott could be suggesting. So that's what's going on over there at Southwest. Is this good? I mean, a good boardroom battle here.
So I think Southwest actually has 2 other CEOs on its board. If I remember correctly, there's another person on the board who was the CEO, but I might be remembering that wrong. I vaguely remember
Bob Jordan.
There's Bob Jordan, who's the current CEO. Investors, you don't have to have the CEO on the board. The CEO does not have to be their own boss.
Current CEO on the board, let alone all 17 other CEOs that used to work for your company.
It's not a rule. Not a rule. And it's okay for the CEO to not be their own boss by sitting on the board.
Especially when your only innovation over the last 30 years is to create some kind of hectic way of boarding a plane that makes everybody nervous.
Yeah, but by saying, like, are you in row A through unicorn? Everybody pile into a giant
push up to the front and give each other COVID.
By the way, none of the seats are assigned. The big innovation, I think they announced it this year, was that they were going to add assigned seats.
Good.
That was the innovation.
What do you think? Is this good? Is this a victory for Elliott? Seems like maybe a little bit. We're in this new age of like people stepping down next year. Why can't they step down now?
That's the other thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
This is not the CEO. This is somebody who's been there for like 30 years.
Yeah.
What do they need like 7 months time to step down
really
for?
Know.
It's not like they haven't built in redundancies for that guy. Like,
Look, yeah, but I am excited about 6 directors leaving November.
That
That's
is
a big
good.
win for us. I mean, that's good.
that is good. I am super excited about Jeff Sonnenfeld writing a piece about how Robert Jordan is laser focused on
I'm
making
glad.
sure
I'm
it's not a
glad you
cattle car.
mentioned Sonnenfeld, but we'll get to him in a couple of the headlines later. Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
excited. I think this is fantastic. This is actually, I don't know why it always takes an activist to do this. Like, no
Yeah,
one,
why not us? Listen to us. We're
but no one
constantly arguing
cared
for
that
board
that
change.
Kelly has been on this board forever. He's literally a dinosaur.
Absurd.
Like like it's absurd that an ex CEO, because his innovation in 1994 was hedging the price of oil. He's been sitting on this board, feasting off of that, while like the airline is basically one of the worst airlines in the United States. So
He's also one of our worst performers, Gary Kelly. He hits 224 overall. That's really really low in our universe
that's
of
horrible.
performance metrics. Like you rarely see under 400. He's hitting
I mean,
224.
you
Terrible.
have to try. Just the law of averages. There's four numbers that we average to give them an overall batting average, and the four numbers are two of them. One of them's earnings, one of them's TSR, one of them's carbon intensity for an environmental thing, and then one of them's controversies. Like, how much does your company fuck up? Just the law of averages. Like,
Well,
you're
he's
against
not
every
good.
other director. He's not good.
Yeah.
And he's been sitting there for. I think this is great. I'm
your vote?
sad that it took an activist investor to get it done, but I think this is great. So I'm giving this a 9. This is this. I feel like this is a good way to start.
Since
Oh, the
Ari's
audience
not
agrees.
here today, Ari's she's giving me permission to adjust your score if I feel like I need to. And
You've been empowered.
I'm going to say that 9 is right. No adjustment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Apple must pay $14.4 billion to Ireland in crackdown on sweetheart deals. This is from the European Court of Justice. They're getting sick of Ireland giving all these sweetheart deals to tech companies. What do you think about this one?
This one's weird. I don't understand.
Weird is not. That's not very descriptive. Go ahead.
Well, so what's interesting about it is, first of all,
Yep.
we did a study back in the day and back at the mothership at MSCI
Yeah.
where we looked at
They
the
let you do
different
studies. They let you
occasionally.
author papers.
No. It wasn't a paper that went out. It was a study that I did by
An
myself.
internal study on
in
the
a dark
34th
room.
floor bathroom in
Yeah.
Manhattan.
But it was about the regulatory jurisdictions and how much the average fines were by jurisdiction depending on the things they were fining. What we found effectively was the Department of Justice in the United States was the only regulatory body that issued multi-million and billion-dollar settlements on a regular basis. Like, it was the U.S. is, sure, you can fuck up and break the law all day long, but we are going to rent extract at the end of it some of your gains. Don't worry, we'll never put you out of business. Europe, on the other hand, they were all really weak fines. It was like nothing ever happened until recently, where suddenly now it's like Europe is all the big fines and the U.S. is sort of middling. So it's interesting, the regulatory flip here.
Yeah.
But what are they paying for? Is this just taxes? Is this just
back taxes? Basically, Ireland, they've been giving quote unquote sweetheart deals to tons of different big tech companies. They're headquartered there in Dublin, and basically saying, "Come move here, and you don't have to pay taxes," which doesn't benefit the citizens of Ireland, of course.
Does anybody who talks about Apple ever associate them with Ireland? Like, does anyone say the Irish company Apple?
Yeah, I didn't realize any of this until I took a vacation to Dublin, and there is a new section of Dublin. It kind of reminds me of the seaport in Boston. It's brand new. It's kind of ugly because it's brand new, and it's all American tech companies. It's like,
wow.
Yeah, it's really strange. Actually, it does not fit in.
Okay,
and they should be paying a lot of tax. And,
yeah,
and $14.4 billion sounds small for Apple, but I imagine that's an important figure for the country of Ireland, right? The Republic of Ireland. Sorry.
Look, the fact is that the average human being on this planet has to pay taxes in some form or another, and when you cheat taxes for like $12. You get like $1 million in fines, and you'll never. It's possible to never climb out of it. Meanwhile, these tech companies can just move around the world and find the lowest taxes and then not pay any. So I'm happy that somebody's paying tax. I don't think taxes are a bad thing. They pay for stuff like roads. So I'm for it. I'm going to give this a 7. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think you're onto something. 7.
That's some tough adjudication right there.
This adjustment thing I'm adding to the show is really stupid, but it's all right. All right, here we go. This one is the one that hints to Jeffrey Sonnenfeld. What is Jeffrey Sonnenfeld? He's the management expert. He's the CEO doctor, the CEO whisperer. Who is he? What's his name?
He is a dean at like a.
No, I don't care about that part. What's he known for? He's known for being like the management guru. He's
he started I think he started the very first CEO, effectively CEO school.
He is he is the guru of all CEOs.
He throws annually of like a conference where every major CEO of a
he makes a big vat
of
tater tots, and they all sit around and they talk about CEO stuff.
They talk about tater tots mostly.
Blah blah blah.
And the reason why I mentioned Jeffrey Sonnenfeld because he's one of my new favorites now. Is he comes up with these outlandish statements, these outlandish like 900-page documents to support very one-sided documents to support his favorite CEOs. He did this with Dave Calhoun of all people at Boeing, which that's what really started to get me to hate this guy's research. And then of course Dave Calhoun, he's gone. He's out. Of course.
Yes.
And then he really bizarrely had this report backing Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw. He had all these wonderful things to say about good old Alan. He attacked
Ancora.
He attacked the investors that were trying to, change the boardroom over there at Norfolk Southern. And it was just a very strange juvenile argument. He didn't have, I don't know. It was just, it was off-putting to me. And here we go again. Jeffrey Sonnenfeld's favorite CEO. Another one is out. Alan Shaw, Norfolk Southern CEO, who stepped down amid misconduct probe. So I guess he's involved in a bad relationship. What do you call it? An unethical relationship there at Norfolk Southern. And according to the Wall Street Journal, he's stepping down.
Is it a coincidence? There's only one of the Ancora directors who's on the audit committee. But is it a coincidence that like 4 months after the biggest board turnover at a board that was highly insular, basically handpicked by like prior CEOs, what was his name? Mormon, Wick Mormon or something like that. Is it a coincidence that as soon as you have board turnover and the board becomes more independent,
I see what you're
7 minutes later, the guy is investigated for misconduct and out?
Which is the board's job, right?
That's what they're supposed to be accountability. So, like, it makes you wonder, like, how long Alan Shaw is a lifer at Norfolk Southern. So how long has he been getting away with possible misconduct? You'll never know. Yeah, maybe it's brand new, but the fact is, as soon as you flip the board, they realize, he's been doing some bad stuff recently.
Your ESG conspiracy hat would suggest that either this has been going on for a while and they're using it as an excuse to push him out, or right, like it does make you wonder what's going on here because again, like Jeffrey Sonnenfeld and others, they really dug in. Despite a lot of outcry that wanted to get rid of Alan Shaw, they really dug in on him, being like, "No, he's our savior here."
And frankly, if you look, it didn't have to take an internal investigation about possible misconduct to get rid of him. You just had to look at the performance of him and the company, right?
Yeah.
Like
it's been a train. I can't believe I didn't even mean it. I stumbled into this terrible pun. but it has been a relative train wreck. Sorry, at Norfolk over the last few years. Yeah. All right. Anyway, what's your score on this one?
I love everything about this. This is how governance is supposed to work. If investors
us making fun of Jeffrey Sonnenfeld and then his decisions going up in smoke.
Every investor should be doing
every time Jeffrey Sonnenfeld now supports a CEO, it ends in disaster. That's my point. That's my point.
I'm waiting for Bob Jordan to get a Jeffrey Sonnenfeld 70-page presentation about how great of a CEO
I'm waiting for the Jeffrey Sonnenfeld book touting Bob Chapek at Disney. I'm waiting for that.
Ooh, that'll be that's a must read.
Yeah.
I love this because this is what if again, I don't know why it takes an activist. This is what investors can do by themselves without an activist help.
And to
this
your
is your
point
job
earlier,
as a fiduciary.
this is why you don't need CEOs on the board in the first place.
It's bananas to me that that this is even a question. So I'm giving this a 10. I love this. Because we spent shows and shows and shows on Norfolk Southern, how they would game the system. The head of the safety committee at Norfolk Southern prior to the crash didn't have any safety experience like one day, and then the next day he did because there was an activist at the time. And then they replace him with a new head of the safety committee who they didn't disclose having safety experience, and then he did, even though the second guy actually looks like he has safety experience. But the point is, they're jury rigging things to look a certain way. Culturally, that seems to have been going on forever. So I love it. I think this is great.
Your 10 is correct, although it's not for the reasons you're giving. It's for my reason, because it's just funny that every CEO that Jeffrey Sonnenfeld loves is like fired 3 months later. Let's not forget that there was I don't remember who it was, but there was some other entity too that took great umbrage with Sonnenfeld supporting Alan Shaw, right? Because they wanted for Sonnenfeld to disclose, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you filing? Like,
that was
why?
Ancora.
Because Norfolk Southern themselves used Sonnenfeld's report to back up Alan Shaw. Okay, it was Ancora. So
it was Ancora themselves.
Where is this coming from? Like, who asked you to do this? And you must be working for the company, right?
They demanded disclosure of possible conflicts of interest.
And that's when Sonnenfeld got quiet.
Because the number of times that Jeff Sonnenfeld puts out a 70-page presentation and backing a CEO has been one this time, right? Like, most of the time he just goes on the news and says, you know, Dave Calhoun is laser focused on turning Boeing around. That's what he said.
Laser focused on safety now.
And this time he had like students at Yale research Ancora and Alan Shaw.
And there were a lot of petty arguments. There were a lot of he thought that Ancora was personally attacking
the
CEO
say that.
who winds up stepping down because of misconduct.
Yeah, he did say that.
Think of the ironies there. It's crazy. All right, moving on. Next headline. No one is above the law. Google loses long-running EU antitrust battle. Another case out of the EU. The European Commission rejected Google's appeal against a $2.7 billion penalty.
You know,
Google's taken a lot of hits recently, right?
I know. My problem is that it's Google. Like if we were to start with any company for antitrust, why is it not Zuckerberg?
Has to
and
be
I don't
Zuck
mean Meta,
every
I mean
time.
Zuck.
Every
it should
time.
be Zuck every
WhatsApp,
time.
Instagram,
He's
Facebook.
effectively taken advantage of two laws. Number one is Section 230, which allows a platform not to be responsible for what's on the platform, right? Like, so he's taken advantage of that to the 9 billionth degree, right? And number two is antitrust laws were built to break up railroads in the 1800s. They were basically built to say, if you're overcharging a consumer for something and you have a monopoly, we break you up. But what he's done is create something that is quote unquote free because we do not value the data. There's not a numerical value we can place on the data. So we're not saying we're charging you for something, and we're actually claiming it as a quote unquote public good, which is all fake. Yeah. But he can take advantage of that loophole.
Quote unquote free speech is reigns.
I don't know what it is,
fake.
But he ends up owning 85% of the fucking market and gets away with it. Like, because
without actually owning that percentage in shares because of a dual class structure that gives him power that he hasn't actually earned.
So I'm a mixed mind.
I don't know how we got onto Zuck, but
because I'm a mixed mind of Google, right? Like
I do have
Google's not the one I want to see.
I do have a Zuck headline later if you want to save some of your rage.
I know Google is antitrusty too, especially in search, but they are also really fucking good at it. I don't know. I feel like this is a 6.2. That's what I feel like.
My adjustment is no adjustment because I don't care. All right, moving on.
This is a really good segment for you.
Telegram CEO Durov, that's Pavel Durov, says the messaging app will tackle criticism of how it moderates content, saying that his already disabled New media uploads to a standalone blogging tool, which seems to have been misused by anonymous actors. I don't really know what that means.
Wow.
But here's why. Here's why I chose this one. Isn't it ironic that he's saying first of that he has nothing to do with it. Telegram has nothing to do with it. This is free speech. Yet he's starting to fix stuff already. I mean, what a crock of shit this.
No,
this is.
no. The irony is that like a week ago,
Oh, I like this.
all we heard was police sirens as he was threatened to get sent to jail. And all you have to do is
That case is not over in France.
But all you got to do is threaten a tech bro with jail for doing shit you're not supposed to do. And look at what he does immediately.
But which is it? Is he responsible for something or not? Why is he changing? Why does anything need to change?
In the same way that Zuck is responsible for everything, he's responsible for everything. I really, my takeaway was, what Durov should do is create an oversight board, and then everyone will leave him alone, right? And then what they'll do. I hate this. I hate this because it exposes the incredible, horrible, non-ironic truth about what fake dual class, like the fake public companies and the private companies that all espouse free speech, and Elon Musk.
Doesn't it prove that it has nothing to do with free speech?
It has never had anything to do with free speech.
Yeah.
It has to do with making money.
These are private companies,
for themselves.
people. Yeah, these are private companies.
So I hate this. It's a 0 for me. I don't like it at all.
The adjustment, that's correct. Everything to do with him.
Wow,
is
it's
0.
amazing. It's like the adjustments don't adjust anything.
The other part I hated about this article, which the headline doesn't suggest, is one of his reasons why he's saying everything is fine on Telegram is that it's only like 0.001% of the users that are horrible, despicable criminals. Which, if you do the math, is still like, I don't know, like 10,000 horrible criminals. Like, that's not okay. That's not good enough math for me, Pavel. I'm sorry. Moving on. Ooh, this is a good one for us. In our super nerdy ESG edition of the Good Game for September 10th. 2024. Nelson Peltz.
Oh.
Yeah, speaking of petulant anti-woke billionaire
Wait,
children.
He's going to star in an all-black cast Marvel movie.
Wouldn't that be something?
That would be something.
In blackface? Because he's not black, clearly.
Oh,
well, I'm just saying, like,
no,
but I think Nelson would be okay with that, right? Because not having blackface is woke, right?
Huh.
Because we want to, right, in a MAGA world, because he's the one who had that Make America Great campaign at Disney, right? He wants to go back to the 50s where black... Okay, we're completely off track here.
I have to do some deep analysis on this.
Nelson Peltz is stepping down as chair of Wendy's board. That's the headline. But let me tell you what's going on behind the scenes while you think about what you think about this. This is 30% of lardy influence up for grabs. According to our data, he represents 30% of the lard over there at Wendy's. The remaining power is his Nepo baby kid, Matthew Peltz, who has 22% influence. And also with 22% influence is 81-year-old Peter May, who's been a Wendy's executive since the 90s and is a founding partner of Nelson Peltz's Trian partner. So
babies. So
that's what's going on at Wendy's,
It's just Nelson stepping down, right?
Nelson stepping down. Matthew is remaining, and he's not even really stepping down. He's going to stay as chairman emeritus, which suggests he's still going to be in the boardroom, like chomping down on Wendy's greasy burgers. This is literally
the fakest news headline I've ever read in my life.
Well, but according to the Business News, who actually has no understanding of this, and yes, I'm looking at you, CNBC. It says it's starting a new era for the burger chain.
No, it's not.
How is it starting a new era if his son is there, the founding partner of his company is there, and he's still in the boardroom?
Like the number of 80-year-olds on Wendy's board needs to change in and of itself.
Why does CNBC
fake.
even try? Why don't they even try to understand what any of this means? Why? Why don't they try?
Like what a headline though. They literally are writing
starting a new era.
It's a new era. Meanwhile, the guy is just moving to the chair further from where he was sitting in the same room.
Yeah,
his son is still there, and the old founding partner still. This is the dumbest. This is a 0 for the headline. This is the worst headline.
I'm actually the adjustments actually is gonna change your score to a 5 because the new chair The new chair is named Art Winkleblack. That's a great name. Art Winkleblack.
Wait, you're just going entirely based on the name of the guy
Yes,
taking
so
over.
it's
I
a
just want to
five.
make
It's
sure.
actually a five. Next headline, Boeing. Boeing, always in the news. Boeing reaches a tentative labor deal. I don't think it's been voted on yet, with 25% pay hike and a commitment to replace 737 planes. Their proposed 4-year contract has been hailed by the union as the best it had ever negotiated, and a big win, a big early win for Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
I don't understand the replace the planes part. Is that like the planes suck and need to be replaced? Is that like what is that?
That one either? Yeah, and also a commitment, I think, to rebuild manufacturing in Seattle, to stay in Seattle, which that seems like a win. I don't know. Again, this hasn't been passed yet. This is
I don't
just
know. When it passes, tell me. It's a
Okay.
5 until then.
All right, let's move
It's
on.
going to be a 5.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really pointed this out as another kind of a little slap to Jeffrey Sonnenfeld for supporting Dave Calhoun. But as soon as Dave Calhoun leaves, there's the biggest win ever for the union at Boeing and a big win for the new CEO. So there you go.
Laser focus.
Laser
baby.
focus. Oh, I mean, this is probably my favorite headline of the news cycle because, this is my pet peeve. This is this thing that I'd put in second place. CEOs on board, CEOs who are also chairs. That one is like one of my biggest ones. But number one is this one, and here's the headline. Star Board proposes that News Corp eliminates dual class shares.
Wow.
According to the quote from Star Board, this is clearly not the appropriate governance structure for a public company. Right? That's all you need to say.
That's so nice.
That's it.
That's it.
So this is a proposal. Hopefully, going to be on the proxy statement at the next meeting at News Corp.
Mild catch, because I read the Starboard letter, and it does say that, and then says in the next line, sometimes
Just kidding.
it is appropriate if you want a visionary founder who stays on, but
Wait, what?
News Corp they said that, but News Corp is not. That is the opposite of that archetype. So they said this is not appropriate, but it is appropriate sometimes. And not appropriate here is really what they were saying. They're
Okay,
really threading
I don't
a
like
needle.
that as much. Yeah.
Keith is chair emeritus. This is like a chair emeritus game today.
Yeah.
Because like Starboard's basically saying, they point out that he's the chair emeritus, and that title basically means you're in the board without being on the board, and you have no accountability to shareholders. Not to mention he's the dual class
He
holder,
controls,
right?
I think, at least 40% of voting power.
So
despite only owning 14% of the company.
can we agree to two things? Number one, that dual class shares in all instances should not exist, right? Like those are fake.
How do you
public.
How do you follow up a quote? This is clearly not the appropriate governance structure for a public company. How do you follow that up with anything else? How do they qualify?
Well, they
that?
did. So let's just stop with
Stupid.
it's not appropriate. And it doesn't matter the circumstance.
For any of
It's
them.
not appropriate.
Yeah.
It's because you're either public or you're not. So let's stop with that. And number two, can we agree to eliminate chair emeritus? Do we need that? Is that a thing we need?
I don't care. I want to start with eliminating the combined role of CEO and chair. I want to start with that one.
I mean, all of it.
That one
I'm
really
going to
gets me.
give. So if I go strictly by the headline and
Yes.
not by what they said
Yes,
after
do
that
that,
in the
do
letter,
that.
I will give it a 10.
Yes, and you're kind of right for the wrong reason. The adjustment is a 10, but the real reason is that this is just a story that people are now forced to talk about dual class shares. I just like that.
That's nice. That's nice.
By the way, there is a court battle going on. I think already now in Nevada. It's private. It's not a public court battle, but deciding what's going to happen with Rupert Murdoch's shares, right? How they're going to be passed on to the next to his heirs. Right, this is going on now. They're fighting over
Someone's fighting about
right.
something. Yeah, yeah.
So
I
the
don't.
real life succession going on there in Nevada. as we
Aren't
speak.
they? Didn't he try to change the will and give it
Yes,
all
he's trying to give
one
it all
kid?
to the shitty son, to the
Yeah.
asshole.
Is that
and
what
not
they
the
actually
three
wrote
like
in there?
quasi liberals? Yeah,
They wrote that, right? The shitty
basically
son gets
yeah.
it all.
Give it to
Yeah.
the monster. All right, so here we go. Back to Zuck. Here's the headline. Meta Oversight Board. You love when I talk about the Meta Oversight Board,
I
which
do.
is really
I do.
which is really just another way of saying Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. Yeah.
Meta Oversight Board asks a firm not to automatically remove pro-Palestinian phrase, and the phrase they're talking about is from the river to the sea. And look, I don't know how you fall on this. I have a very clear opinion about this. I mean, maybe Matt, you fall into more of like a free speechy territory, unlike me, who just hates the phrase. But I just love the nuance of this and how stupid this oversight board is in the first place. But they said that the phrase it should remain because the phrase from the river to the sea has several meanings, and as such,
Okay.
its use cannot in itself be deemed to be harmful, violent, or discriminatory. And they go on to say, while the phrase can be understood by some as encouraging and legitimizing anti-Semitism and the violent elimination of Israel and its people. So so it's
It
both.
could be that.
It is. They're acknowledging that's one of the definitions.
That's just one of the meanings.
But even
But it
that is
could
not
also mean
enough.
something else.
Even that is not enough to eliminate the phrase, because it also could mean something happy to somebody else.
Yeah, like I enjoy boating from a
Yeah.
river to a sea, right?
And this
like,
is how stupid it is, putting a monopoly social media company under the control of one stupid
But, like,
college dropout.
I don't care at all about the content of this, in as much as
Yeah.
like that's not what the way in here for me is. The first 5 words in this headline: Meta Oversight Board asks firm.
Ask Mark Zuckerberg.
Like,
Ask Mark Zuckerberg. The oversight board that is funded by Mark Zuckerberg.
like pretty
He's
please,
paying their
daddy.
salaries.
And I like that it says firm and not Zuckerberg. When
Yeah.
will the headline writers just write Mark? They should just write oversight board, like board of experts in humanitarian and social issues begs Mark, can you please do something like,
And again,
can you do X, Y, or
To
Z?
repeat, their argument is that while some people think that the phrase means the violent elimination of Jewish people, essentially, someone else thinks it means like candy canes.
Some people think.
Some people think it means watermelon.
I don't care, but that part to me, it doesn't even
Again,
matter.
I know,
they
no, I
just
know,
have
I
to
know.
beg. It's just everyone begging a college dropout with no nuance who's a multi-billionaire.
Who doesn't even own a majority of the shares, but through some
They're
stupid
just-
dual-class share provision is allowed to control
They have to
everything.
beg him. They have
Everything.
to beg him. And we look up to that guy because he's a multi-billionaire. And that is the dumbest
look up
reason to
to
look
him.
up
You
to
look
a
up to
person. I do. I love him. I'm trying to.
What's your score here?
I'm giving this a 0. This is the
No.
stupidest. Yeah, this is correct. That's
No,
the
it's
correct. What adjustment could you possibly have?
It's actually a 7 is the adjustment, because it's just fun. It's fun to make fun of the oversight board, and it's important also to
You're not
to-
rating how fun
to
it is to
bring-
make fun of the headline. You're rating the headline.
I just think it's important that do you realize, like, I think we're the only company left that still hammers away at Mark Zuckerberg for the fact that he shouldn't have all this control of this monopoly. I think we're the only ones left.
That's true. We're also the only ones who read every oversight board decision.
Well, that's true, too.
Still, like 7 years after they were
Look,
created.
people, I realize that Elon Musk is sexy to hate, but you really should still be upset that this guy is the CEO, the chair, controls the voting power without controlling the ownership of one of the most important social media monopolies in the globe.
Yeah.
You should still care about this.
Go back to old school hate. Hate Mark Zuckerberg again.
Here's another funny one. I like this one too. A lot of good ones today in the good game. Here's the headline: Logitech founder fails in attempt to oust chairperson.
Ooh.
So here's what's
is that
going on at Logitech. The founder, Daniel Borrell, is trying to oust the chair, Wendy Becker. I feel like we've seen this a lot. We've seen a lot of disgruntled founders trying to get rid of female chairs in the
Yeah,
past.
that's true. Yeah.
But here's the craziness out of this one. He wants to get rid of Wendy Becker, and he wants to replace her with a board member named Guy Gecht. And the funny thing is,
I hate his name.
the funny thing is that Guy Gecht has already said that he would not accept the position of chair if he doesn't want to replace Wendy Becker. He doesn't agree with this at all.
Here's something. So Bobo Burrell,
Great,
Bobo.
great
I looked
fight.
up his nickname,
Yeah.
Bobo.
Is that right?
Yeah, his nickname is Bobo. He is a boomerang CEO from
Yes.
the 90s. So we are in Howard Schultz.
Schultz territory, yeah. Bob Iger. Yeah.
And he actually has been chair emeritus of Logitech.
He
Not
is Howard
kidding.
Schultz. He is Howard Schultz, essentially.
He was chair
Starbucks.
emeritus.
Yeah.
And it makes me think we need to revamp our model entirely because we need chair emeritus in there, which
We do.
we don't
also,
have.
we talked about this with Starbucks because we are currently our model does not account for a founder who actually has a pretty small stake in the company. Schultz, he's under 2% now.
He's under 2%.
Same with Bobo Burrell at Logitech. He's only at 1.2%, and yet they yield this incredible amount of influence still. So we do have to figure out how to add these people to our model.
Can we stop fetishizing like 7 founders?
Don't
like
pick
white
up
men?
their phone. Don't pick up
Just
their calls.
Like you know what they're still dialing on rotary phones.
Yeah.
You can ignore it. You
Yeah.
you are a professional. You didn't get to the board because you're not a professional. Just do your job.
Doesn't it make all the more scary the fact that he only owns 1.2% of shares and can be this much of a pain? Same with Howard Schultz, and yet Zuck owns what, like 70% of shares? I mean, it doesn't make that a lot more scary, that idea.
Well, Zuck's never going away. He's going to be chair emeritus until he's 90. But I think I'm going to rate the headline on this basis, which is to say, first of all, you don't see many female chairs of major companies. It doesn't happen
or
that
CEOs,
often, right?
yeah.
So already that's a big deal. Forget female chair emeritus. Have I ever seen? Has there ever been a female chair emeritus?
Would there be one though?
No.
There probably wouldn't be one, right?
Right, because they would have had to found the company first.
Maybe Shari Redstone. Yeah, she's
Maybe.
Sumner Redstone's daughter. Maybe she'll become the chairman emeritus.
But second, how often does, because you have such a small number of ever having a woman as chair, how often do they defeat the founder? Like this went to a shareholder vote, and the shareholders did not lick the founder's ass. They said 86% voted for her, Wendy Becker. That's fabulous. I'm going to give this a 10. I love a good founder rebuff.
Part of this, I think, is that I don't know. I should know this off the top of my head. Logitech is not an American firm, right?
No, I think it's Swiss.
So I think that's part of this, is that they're
they're European.
They're adulty. Yeah, they're adulty. So you're giving a 6. Fine.
No,
I
give it a 10. I give it a 10.
10. Yeah,
I
okay.
give it a
10. I actually think 10 is more like it because I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny that his choice to replace her, he just picks a random man off the board, and the man's like, "No, I don't actually want to replace her."
He actually picked a man named
Keep my name
Guy.
out of your mouth. Keep my name out of your mouth.
He picked a man named Guy. That's like picking like a guy named Dude.
All right, next one. This is one that you requested. I tried to take it out of the show, but I think you had some comment on this.
Yeah.
The headline is Cable News Channel Newsmax is planning to go public. So this is a Newsmax
finally
is a cable news channel that's to the right of Fox, right? It's to the right of Fox News.
Yeah, like way to the right, yeah.
And I originally included this because I just love when any company goes public because then we can officially make fun of them. But what do you want to talk about here?
So this reminded me, we covered this in past shows of a guy named Omid Malik who started, he's a venture guy. He started a company called 1789 Capital.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's
they
really
wanted,
MAGA. That's like true MAGA.
It's
forget the
MAGA.
1950s. Let's go all the way back to when slavery was legal. Yeah,
we're going to the 1700s. What I love about it is their primary objective was to invest in the quote parallel economy, which is effectively the economy that disdains black people and the environment
and promotes the re-legalization of slavery. I guess
I think that's one of their tenets.
The de-suffrage of women.
The D suffrage, yeah.
Yeah.
But like Newsmax must be the crown jewel of the parallel economy because for Newsmax in their investor presentation, which we were sharing images from this morning, they actually have a values section, and it's like 5 values like leading Newsmax, and none of them are facts or truth. There's no facts or truth on it.
Stop.
They did have faith in America. Like as America as a value, just America.
Okay. Does that include all the non-white people in America?
But then they like, as if they are going actually backwards. The investor presentation tries to make the case that linear television, broadcasting, cable is not going anywhere and is in growth mode. That's what they tried to talk about. Okay. They show actually a chart that shows when Trump got elected, they basically went from no revenue to much more revenue, which makes me think, so, capitalism works because they're just going to find the people where they are. And then the revenue goes down, but they show an arrow going straight up that says their estimate, because they have like one bar in 2027 that's like an estimate, and the arrow goes up from really low to the top of the estimate, even though the real numbers are going down in the last 3 years. I love everything about it. It not only is it a parallel economy, it's a parallel reality. They're literally building it. I think it's fabulous.
I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed to have a serious comment about this, but I actually do have a serious thought about this. If the Nevada court decides that the shares at News Corp will be split among the children, right? And the suggestion is that the 3 children will outweigh Lachlan, and they want to push Fox News to be a bit more centrist, right? And if Starboard has its way and somehow they miraculously get rid of dual class shares, another reason why Fox News actually might get pushed to be more centrist, because a lot of people are sick and tired of Fox News acting this way. It's only really Lachlan and Rupert that want it. Then Newsmax actually probably will do really quite well.
Yeah, they'll be the new
all
Fox
of this
News.
plays out well, right? Yeah. Because they will become the new disgusting, horrible Fox News, right?
You know what the amazing part is?
That I had a thought that was somewhat serious.
That is separately amazing. But equally as amazing is in the prospectus the memorandum documentation. They say that it's likely to remain a controlled company. It's going to be dual class when it IPOs. And so I love the pro-democracy, America, freedom companies that are all for kings. But like they are literally have kings of their own. This is great. This is a 7. I love it.
7 sounds fine. Next headline. How about this one? 85% of banks, financial institutions, rely on ESG ratings for financial strategy.
I don't. Not only do I not buy it,
you don't buy that?
I don't buy it at all. First of all, CDP wrote it. And
I know. Okay.
Love CDP.
I wanted to leave that part out. Yeah.
But it's very much in their interest to write that down somewhere.
I included this because with all this bullshit anti-ESG talk going on, you'd be crazy not to look at the signals that come out of ESG.
Look at the data, fine, but can we say the ratings are not what you should be like? If you're looking at a rating as a starting point,
I think ratings might be like a kind of a quick way of saying they look at some of the signals that create the rating.
Yeah, and that's where they stop. They're like, is it a 10 out of 7 globes or what?
I'm only pointing out that, and I'm talking to you like Texas and Florida and all you weirdos, you'd be nuts not to just at least look at the data that creates these ratings, right? I mean, could you imagine just not even paying attention to it? I mean, you can have whatever thought you want about it, but imagine just not even looking at it. It's just crazy.
I mean,
crazy.
It is like putting your head in the sand, right? But I think that I find this dumb. It's a 5 for me. I don't care.
The adjustment says you're right because I don't really care either. 2 more headlines. I just wanted to throw this one into the good game. I think we talked about this on another show, but I wanted to officially canonize it. Ex-Volkswagen CEO to finally face trial 9 years after Dieselgate scandal rocked auto industry.
So good.
And that guy's name, it's Martin Winterkorn.
So Marty, so this is a 10. This is great. I actually looked through MSCI's database. Speaking of the mothership, I pulled their controversy data on any outstanding lawsuits or massive controversies, and by massive I mean like global style controversies that are still outstanding since 2008, which is when the VW first investigation started.
I mean, yeah, which is incredible.
There were
It's an
3.
incredibly long time. 2008.
2008, yeah.
That's when Obama was elected.
There are 3 that are still ongoing.
It's actually before he became president. He became president in January 2009. That's how long ago that was.
There's Carlos Ghosn and Nissan still ongoing.
Mr. Cello case. Yeah.
It's Mr. Cello case. And if you don't know what we're talking about, he escaped Japanese law by hiding in a cello case to get
true story.
To get to escape to Lebanon. The U.S. banks are still under investigation and paying out for manipulating interest rates for municipal bonds, effectively.
Yeah.
They basically pushed up the rates of munis so that the rest of us tax-paying human beings are just paying a little bit more to have a road so that the banks could make the money.
Just boring facts.
But that's like a big group of banks. But my favorite, this is one that literally no one talks about. I don't think I've seen it anywhere. And this might be the next Marty Winterkorn. The Boston Scientific, in 2008, there started investigations around transvaginal mesh lawsuits.
You know, this rings a bell. Was this not one of the first topics we ever discussed when we created the podcast ESG Now at MSCI? It's like one of the first headlines
one
we
of the
ever
very
touched.
first things we ever talked about.
That in itself was 400 years ago.
And these companies, Boston Scientific, Johnson & Johnson, Coloplast, a bunch of these companies have paid $8 billion since 2008. $8 billion collectively because they were implanting mesh into women because they were incontinent or after having giving birth, which is normal, or just in general, they were implanting these things, and they all, like a bunch of them failed. They basically are horrible. Right. They had to do multiple surgeries afterwards, and they've been paying out since then. The worst part is the CEO of Boston Scientific worked at Johnson & Johnson in the medical devices before joining Boston Scientific and fighting these lawsuits. And he still sits on the board of Baxter International. Wow. Congratulations to that guy. That guy, maybe what made me think is maybe there's hope. Maybe like that guy goes to jail for basically implanting shit into women that doesn't work.
As we speak, Jeffrey Sonnenfeld is working on a paper saying that Mike Mahoney is laser focused on what? On something. On
laser focused on something. Vagina health.
Yeah.
I guess.
What's
I
your
like
score
this.
there?
Yeah, it's a 10.
The adjustment it's actually a 9 because he's facing a trial 9 years after Dieselgate. And finally, on the good game, September 10th, 2024, very nerdy ESG good game. I don't know how we've talked this long. I don't know how we're like getting close to 6 hours here, but I wanted to include this headline. This is going to the joke at the opening of the show. Vanguard backed none, zero environmental or social measures, proposals in the 2024 proxy season. And here's why I'm including it in the good game.
Yeah, how is this good?
Because, bear with me here, not because they're rejecting everything, but because they might be the first proxy advisory company, whatever you want to call them, or no, they're not
they're
proxy
investment company.
That actually has somewhat of a recognizable methodology, right? They're just saying no to everything. Because usually I can't understand why some things get a yes, some things get a no, some directors get support, some don't. It's always so like wishy-washy. But Vanguard's just saying no, so let's get behind them. That's a methodology.
Let me ask you something. What is the point of Vanguard then? Like, what do we need you for? They have a stewardship team.
Well, we need them for the jokes at the opening of our show.
Well, we need them to buy free flow analytics data, but then not use it, right? Like if you're going to vote no on everything that a shareholder puts up, and then yes on every director, which is what they do already, right? What the fuck do we need you for? Like,
here's a pledge.
What is the point of you?
Vanguard, I know you're listening. Here's a pledge to Vanguard. If you go into contract with us, you can take our data, buy our data.
Yeah, I didn't hard sell them just now.
We promise here at the podcast division of Free Flow to do 50% less jokes against Vanguard. 50%.
Ooh, yeah. We'll do it for the money.
For a promise? I'll put it right in the contract.
We'll do it for the money. I pulled a little bit of data about this, and it turns out the average support for environmental measures in 2024, and I just look at environmental for the Fortune 250, the largest 250 companies in the United States. Yeah, for 250 was 12.8%. That was the average support. That's average, which means like, that includes all the ones that got like 1%, and
which is
the
way higher than
anti-woke ones.
Way higher than the average against vote for directors. I'll say that.
Yeah, and it includes the anti-woke ones where they're like, we want you to get rid of your environmental stuff.
Get rid of women.
So that's bringing stuff down. In fact, there were 17 companies that got over 25% support. I cannot believe Vanguard couldn't find one proposal.
That's what I'm saying. That's
worth
what I'm
voting
saying.
for. Not one.
At least their methodology is recognizable. It's clear.
There was a shareholder proposal simply asking Kinder Morgan, a natural gas company, to adopt a GHG emission target. Like, they didn't ask for a lot.
Saying no.
And Vanguard was like, that one doesn't really work. They couldn't back the New York City Comptroller's office. They couldn't back Norges Bank. They couldn't back the Illinois State Treasurer.
At least I get it. What's your number? What's your
You're
number
ending this with a 0. You just killed it. 0.
It's a 0. You giving a 0?
Yeah.
I think you're wrong. Again, like, I appreciate that Vanguard is just sticking to a theme, so I'll give it a 6.
Wow.
That's the show. It's finally over. The score for this week, your average score, probably because of that Vanguard, is just below a 6. That's pretty low. That's not bad.
That's literally, I live in 5 to 6.
And the adjustment worked out to a 7, so that's about right.
Your crappy adjustment. That's all we've got. It's like 7 hours of good games. That's
why was it so long?
Yeah, I don't know. We just talked a lot. I am your analyst, old Matt Moscardi. We are Free Float. Tomorrow, we are dropping on a totally different channel, totally new podcast called Shareholder Primacy.
Yes.
With Mike Levin and Ann Lipton, two of the greatest minds in governance and activism and law on the planet. We are dropping that on our Free Float channel, so go subscribe to that. Shareholder Primacy. It'll be on Apple, it'll be on Spotify, it'll be a lot of places, so you can get that in all those places.
This is
we'll be back.
Our first disciples, our first underlings, our first.
I think we're their underlings as soon as they joined us. I think on Thursday we'll be back on our other channel, the Proxy Countdown, to do Darden restaurants. Because if you wanted to know how bad Olive Garden's board was, we'll tell you. And on Friday we'll be back to wrap up the week. Until then, goodbye.